Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Drive, a production of Anything Cricket Let's Talk. Congratulations to all of you. This is a big day for cricket and a big day for each and every one of you. And if I had any doubts about that, the smiles on your faces I confirm what I'm saying. So welcome, Brian Walters. Welcome to Nate Hayes, and welcome to Rohan Chambers, who is no stranger to this podcast. And Rohan, you must be wondering, twice in the space of a week, it must be big news happening. United States qualifying for the Super 8, they call it. And by that, you also have on the automatic qualification for the next World Cup as well. So things are happening. Rohan, as a teacher, you're taught to go from the known to the unknown. So we're going to start with you. Your reaction to the big news.
Well, from the minute I heard that there was potential for the rains to come and wash out the game, I was over the moon because not only do we qualify for the Super 8, but now we are automatic qualifiers for 2026 World Cup in India, right? So can you imagine USA playing a World Cup in India, right? We have come a long way, and I'm involved in about 10 different WhatsApp chat groups, and I have like 2,000 messages. Congrats, congrats, congrats. I haven't had a chance to read them. I keep delete. But trust me, it's so good.
Pleasant memories.
Yep. When all the kids are so happy, the kids' parents are so happy, and all the hard work over the years has finally paid off. Thousands of hours spent with youths, academies, producing some of these players here, and people are really, really over the moon for this.
Brian Walters, what does this mean to you? You are a former board member. We know this. You also do some cricket commentary, and you're well known to people who I know well in Barbados. What does this mean?
It's just a tremendous feeling. I can tell you just first of all, from the perspective of somebody who used to be involved administratively, that, maybe we can write a book one day about the different difficulties that we've had with the sport in this country. But today is not a day to think about that. Today is a day to think about how excited and how just enjoyable this entire time period is for us. The biggest thing for me is seeing the dedication of the players on the field and seeing how they pour everything, strain every sinew to get the result that they want to get. And to know that they are now elated and over the moon, moving on to the Super 8s, it's absolutely thrilling. And Ron, you mentioned the fact that rain was in the forecast and essentially the washout put us into the next round. My worst nightmare was that the rain was going to hold off long enough for them to say we're going to play a 5-over match. And anything can happen in a 5-over match. And I was fully, the part of me that just thinks Murphy's Law was thinking that Ireland would beat us in a 5-over match and the dream would have died. But thankfully, maybe the people from Pakistan won't say thankfully, but rain did what it did. We're through to the Super 8s. I could not be happier.
Nate Hayes, what's your response and your reaction?
I couldn't agree more with both of these gentlemen, but Brian, that's all I was thinking about was we had to wait through at first I was like, let's get a 20 overs aside game in today. And then when that didn't happen, I was like, the longer that it went without us playing, the more I was hoping that we weren't going to play at all. Because you don't want to go out there for 5 overs, lose the toss, and have everything come down to who can score, who can take advantage of the unknown the best. Yeah, nobody had a chance to practice on that ground. No, it's been so wet here that literally just 10 minutes of rain, 10 minutes into that rain, that ground was almost completely underwater. That's how saturated the earth was with water. So everybody was trying everything to get a game on today, and the weather just came through out of nowhere, really, because I was watching the radar. I said, I think we have another hour or two without rain, and then boom, it just showed up, as it tends to do. But yeah, that ended everything. The relief, it was a massive relief when I realized we weren't going to play a very, very shortened game and we're moving through. But yes, aside from the immediate feelings, I think we all have debates all the time about how to get cricket the next step here in the USA, how to take the next step with cricket in the USA. And they're disagreements most of the time just based on philosophy. and they're passionate disagreements a lot of times. What we've learned, what we've really learned, what's really been driven home by this tournament is when the guys on the ground, when they perform, that's the fastest way to move things forward here. Is that in spite of all the troubles that we've had with our national governing body over the years, many times over and over again in some cases, the best way to move forward is these fellas took the sport on their back here in the USA and they moved it forward themselves. And I have to say, it's a pretty remarkable thing. We know in sport, that's what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be meritocratic. It's supposed to be about results, so it's fitting to me that the game be moved forward on the field of play.
Guys, I'm always reluctant to ask because you probably, in a sense, hinted at the answer already. But the fact that you got through to the Super 8 with the help of the rain, does that in any way take any of the gloss off the whole trend?
Absolutely not. I'll take this one. First of all, I can make a very good argument that if we beat Pakistan, and we did, very honestly, the game against Pakistan should not have come down to a super over. We had that game under control. So I can make the argument that if we beat Pakistan, we demolished Canada with some brutal hitting from Aaron Jones, and were neck and neck with India for at least a portion of the game. My sense is in a 20-over match, we beat Ireland easily, and I think we get through. The fact that there was the potential for the truncated game, I think, was a little bit of, a concern. But I don't think that, number one, we need to look the gift horse in the mouth. And then number two, I don't think that in a fair fight, us against Ireland, I think we're the better team.
So, Rohan, you seem a bit doubtful.
No. To Brian's point, I mean, I was at the game. I was not at that game. But when USA beat Pakistan, for us to beat Pakistan, that triumph has gone far across the world, right? As a result of that, there's a feature on CNBC of all places, right? That talks about the stock market and everything. In came cricket for the business side of what's happening around this, right? So I'm at work, and everybody at my job looks like Nate in terms of color, and they live in the middle of the country.
You work with a bunch of gingers?
Yes. And I go on a call. The first thing the guy says to me, hey, Rohan, USA won a match. I said, what? Cricket match? Oh, yes. We have never spoken about cricket before. And the first thing he says to me, USA won a cricket match because he saw it on CNN or something. I'm saying, look at that. That Pakistan match meant so much, right? So, I mean, I think we'd have defeated Ireland with the momentum that we have, having come so close against India. So, I think that's a small matter of concern.
Fair enough. So tell me though, I understand the Major League or the franchise matches are starting soon. Is that correct? In a couple of weeks?
Yeah,
right.
Major League starts after the World Cup's over. Major League comes around.
Right. So how does this success, and I say success because you reach the Super 8, even if you don't go any further, this has to be considered immense success. Let's face it. For Australia to go out at the Super 8 side level, that would be an immense failure for them. But let's be practical. For the US to reach the Super 8 is almost like winning the trophy as far as I'm concerned. So what does this do? How does this impact now on the Major League Cricket and the other efforts to grow the sport?
Yeah, I'll start on this one.
For you, Nate.
I think with as far as how this impacts things in the future, I think it impacts a whole lot of things. First of all, we get an automatic berth in the next T20 World Cup, which is enormous. That's the biggest prize. Second of all, I think it strengthens our argument for inclusion in the 2028 Olympics as a team. There was a debate, or there has been a debate about how to handle who goes to the Olympics, which teams go to the Olympics, and it seems like the winning argument so far has been the top 6 teams should be in the Olympics, not necessarily the host. Well, now we've shown that we're moving ahead as a part of the 8 teams that performed the best in the World Cup. So top 8, not too much further than the top 6. So it's not a stretch to think that USA would be in the Olympics as the hosts. Of course, none of that had been decided yet. Anyways, still not decided. But I think it gives us a stronger argument to be included in the Olympics. And I think a lot of people took it for granted that we would be. But there's always that question. I think this helps that. And with Major League Cricket coming up right after this, we have all these eyes on cricket in the USA right now. this is fantastic for Major League Cricket. You have a lot of sudden curiosity and people who maybe weren't able to see the games, but they're hearing about it now. The World Cup happens quickly. By the time it filters through everybody, this game was at 10:30 in the morning, for example. I think that's one thing I would have loved to change, is have today's game at 7:30, and that way, if USA did do good, they finish the tournament on a primetime hour where people aren't in work. I think that kind of helps bring fans in and to engage with them immediately. But obviously, they're not finishing the tournament. They're progressing. They're going on. So there's still chances for people to watch the team. So I think this brings eyes on Major League Cricket, because now people are going to want to follow Saurabh. Saurabh's following on social media has climbed like crazy, and he's now got over 200,000 followers, I think, on Instagram.
Who are you speaking of?
Saurabh Netravalkar, the left arm seamer for USA.
Okay.
Yeah. He took Kohli's wicket. I think it was the first time that Virat Kohli was dismissed on a golden duck in his T20 international career or something like that. So Saurabh's popularity has gone through the roof. He plays for the Washington Freedom. Now, this is a team that's not associated with an IPL franchise. The IPL franchises immediately have fan bases. That would be the Los Angeles Knight Riders, the Texas Super Kings, and the Mumbai Indians New York. Don't like the name, but they have a huge fan base. So these teams already have fan bases. The other teams that aren't named after IPL namesakes, Washington Freedom, Seattle, and San Francisco, they're going to need a boost. And I think that this gives them a boost, especially Saurabh plays for Washington, one of the non-IPL franchises. This is going to help them get a lot of new fans. Their owners got to be thrilled that Saurabh has done so well in this World Cup. And he's basically emerged as USA's brightest star, simply because over 90% of the people that watch cricket in the world are in South Asia. And so we have an Indian American cricketer here who had a lot of success. And so his fan base, of course, is going to balloon, because that's where the people are that watch the most cricket. So it makes sense that he would have had such a big impact on this, this tournament would have such a big impact on him, and therefore Washington Freedom. And anytime that these things grow, it's going to help everything out. It's going to help lift the whole product. So Major League's popularity is important. This tournament probably boosted Major League's timeline ahead probably by a year or so as far as their success. I would guess. I'm just guessing. I'm not in the financial world.
Financial world, though, I think that the Major League franchises and the organizers are going to have to be paying out some more money, because the tournament obviously will be, I would imagine, I should say, more highly respected. I believe it will probably attract even better players. I know you've got some good players there already. In fact, a number of Caribbean players and Barbadian players who have been playing. And I would imagine now that you are in a position to attract some of the top players in the world, but that's going to cost you.
Yeah, they're already forking out a lot. They've got some of the best players in the world as it is right now in Major League Cricket. But yeah, I think everybody wants to play Major League Cricket right now. I really do. It's evident. It's one of the top paying leagues right now already for overseas talent. We'll see how that works with the CPL. That's the thing I'm a little bit concerned with, is how is this going to affect the CPL's product and their sustainability?
Okay, guys. Brian, especially, maybe Rohan can jump in on this as well. Your automatic qualifiers for the next World Cup. So what do you need to do now to make sure that you continue to be competitive, or even become more competitive than you are right now? You don't want to come to the next World Cup and do what has happened to a number of the other associates that have come through the system and have done well, have upset major teams. Some time ago, for example, we had Kenya, if you recall, qualifying run, I think it was for the semifinals some time back. And, they're not anywhere on the horizon at all now. So what do you have to do to make sure you keep moving in the right direction, Jenny?
I really want to hear what Rohan says, because I think he's going to have a much more cricket-specific answer. I can tell you from the standpoint of somebody.
I can hear Paul's review on that matter. I'm sure that there are a number of things that need to be addressed. Rohan, pretty open.
Yeah.
The umpires come up first, so it's only fitting.
what I was going to say is that from a cricket standpoint, in the short term, hopefully this team can play more T20 internationals between now and then, right? With the West Indies, for example, because of proximity. Almost every year, India comes to the USA and plays in Florida. Have a Tri-Nation series, something like that, right? Prior to this World Cup and prior to the warm-up matches with Bangladesh and Canada, I don't think USA played T20Is for the last 3, 4 years, to my knowledge, right? So having in the short run, having more competitive games with our neighbors and this progress in the World Cup provide justification for that, right? In terms of long-term development, I want to see more US born and developed players in the team, right? So hopefully this success can fuel that developmental progress and have it become much faster. Because in the current team right now, I think about 8 or 9 players or 7 players developed their cricket outside the US, right? So they came as decent players. And I want to see that part in the long term. But for the short term, I want to see more competitive matches with neighbors, and that should keep us in good stead for 2020.
Rohan, before the others come in, though, Rohan,
Yeah.
well, I understand where you're coming from, and fully in support of that. But don't let it be too much of a bother, because there are other, even more, let's say, accredited cricket entities that also benefit from players who have developed elsewhere. And the one that easily comes to mind is
Ben Stokes.
England. Not just Ben Stokes. No, not just Ben
Jofra
Stokes.
Archer.
And just
I watched
seven-
just before last, or was it last week, at Kensington. And there was Chris Jordan, who went to school at the Commonwealth School in Barbados, develop his cricket there. Jofra Archer, who I first heard of or became aware of as a physical education teacher. I was one, not him. At my school, playing against the foundation school, and he was in the squad. I think that was like under 15 or under 13 or something like that. I remember covering a game as a media person. I think it was at Kensington in the Gary Sobers tournament. He was playing for foundation, and they were playing for England. I can tell you there are other Barbadians, maybe other Caribbean people too, but Barbadians I know for sure, who are in the British system, the English system. So this is not to nullify your point, Rohan. All I'm saying is don't allow that to make you feel like a second-class team, because all your players are not born there, because they're entities who have been playing cricket and who have been world champions long time, and they're still pending on importance.
I'd like to add to that, because the Major League, Minor League, the original idea with Major League and Minor League years ago, when USA made the agreement with Major League and Minor League Cricket, was obviously bringing a bunch of overseas first-class cricketers here as kind of seeds to help the entire infrastructure. And what that's done is what that's done in combination with minor league cricket. We play probably more T20 cricket at a decent standard in the USA than just about anybody in the world. We don't have to compete. We don't have to divide our time up like first-class nations do with multi-day cricket, with ODI cricket. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are great forms of cricket. We just can focus completely on T20, which obviously we've talked, there's a lot of discussion about we need more ODI cricket in the USA. I agree with that. Or we need more, 50 overs cricket in the USA at a high standard. I agree with that. The minor league, what minor league has done is it's enabled our younger players that Rohan was talking about. Some of the players who are born here, this next generation of cricketers we have in the USA are phenomenal young players. And they're getting to play with these guys, with the likes of Corey Anderson, with the likes of Harmeet Singh, with the likes of Andres House. It's very good for them to be able to do this in minor league. And we've seen so much of these young players, these Abraham Bolasetis who grew up here in the USA, the Ali Sheikhs, who played their youth cricket in the USA. We've seen so many of them, Saimu Kamalas, rise up because of in part because of the minor league teams and the minor league competition. And Brian is very much involved in minor league cricket down there in Texas as well. He follows it very closely. He commentates a lot of the games. I commentate the games in North Carolina, and so we get to see the players week in and week out improve. We get to see the interactions with the high level talent in the USA and these players, these young players, and the higher level, for example, Morrisville, North Carolina. our local league here, Triangle Cricket League, has 2,400 unique cricketers in it. That's a pretty good sized league. Of course, out of those 2,400, you're going to have a few guys that are good enough to play on that minor league team. And then you have guys who are USA eligible players who are USA players who have played for USA. And when you get them all together, you can see the standards of the younger guys, especially when the players do take them under their wing and try to help them out. This is raising the product all over the USA. And in a generation or so, I don't have any doubt that most of our team in 10, 15 years from now, I really do believe that much of our team is going to be guys who were born in the US and who played their cricket in the US, because now we have an infrastructure finally that allows them to play in and out, day in, day out, week in, week out against good players, against good cricketers, good quality cricketers. We have a lot of good coaches, a lot of good volunteers in the USA, a lot of good people with good hearts. And now we have an infrastructure where we can apply them and put put all the best cricketers together. And I think that's made a huge difference, and it will continue to do so.
Brian, want to add anything?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts, and I agree 100% with what both Rohan and Nate said. A couple of thoughts from an administrative standpoint. You now have the eyes of the country on you. And so it is going to be incumbent on those of us who are in the US cricket community to make sure to continue to remind the administration that the world is now watching. So some of the things that we have probably let slide or tolerated in the past, we can probably be sure that those things are not going to be tolerated anymore, because everything right now needs to be pushed in the direction of having this team have the best chance to succeed. That does mean from a financial standpoint. That does mean from an opportunity standpoint. That does mean from the standpoint of being able to harness the pipeline that we have that with the younger players that Nate talked about, to make sure that everybody has the chance to succeed. That is tremendously important. We had actually one of the older teams in this World Cup. Our average age was 32, 33. The youngest players on the side, I think there's a couple in their 20s, if I'm not mistaken. Nate, you can correct me on this. Aaron Jones is 29. And I think Shane Jahangir is about the same age, but everybody else is 30 and above. So within the next, let's say the next World Cup 2 years from now, a couple of the players, maybe a significant portion of the players, will have aged out of this group. Are we replacing them with players who have the ability to show what they can do and are being brought through the system in a way that allows it to accentuate their skills and their potential to be great? That is, I think, the most important piece to this puzzle. And then the final thing I'll say, and this is related to that point about the whole world watching, there are now people in the largest sporting market in the world who did not know anything at all about cricket. So many people have contacted me saying, oh my goodness, we have a cricket team. I saw you post that we won in the World Cup. I didn't even know we had a cricket team. Well, now the eyes of the largest sporting market in the world are on the US cricket scene. So how do we take that attention and leverage it in such a way that we put ourselves in a better position? Maybe we talk sponsorships. Maybe we talk, what are the ways that we can reach out into the non-immigrant community? And again, this is somebody from a developmental standpoint. I was on the development committee for a number of years. It's all well and good that people like Rohan and I like cricket. Born in Jamaica, no cricket, move here, play it. We need more people like Nate, who out and out, red, white, and blue American, didn't know anything at all about the sport, came to know it, loves it, and is now also not just a player, but somebody who works administratively and in media. The more of the people like Nate that we can capture, the better it is for cricket overall. The smaller our immigrant community that knows cricket, the estimates will be between somewhere in 10 and 15 million people. America is a country of 330 million. If you just get 1% of those, that gives you a whole new foundation to be able to start building a new fan base. That's where attention is going to come from, and that's what will help propel our cricket forward. So a very long way of saying the ball is now in our court, and what are we going to do with it?
Well, gentlemen, before we close, I'm going to just bring up that match next weekend when USA comes against West Indies. I'm going to put you on the spot. But before that, what's going on with the captain, Monarch Patel? I know Aaron Jones was down to captain the team today, had been played, and he captained the last game. What's going on with Patel? He must have missed something there.
He's what I've heard is he injured his shoulder. I heard today, I don't know how accurate, don't quote me 100%. But I heard
I've got some viewers that they're listening to you, so you better.
Well, he
I don't need to quote you. They're listening to you. I'm watching you.
He wouldn't have
1,000 people.
Don't bail him out, Brian. Let him go ahead. Yes, Nick, you're saying don't quote you. But
he wouldn't have been in the team today, which tells me he's hurt pretty good. He's injured his shoulder from what I've heard. I'm not sure if we can expect him back in the tournament or not, to be honest. But I don't think it doesn't, from what I've heard, it doesn't sound so great, especially if they're in an elimination game like today, and he wouldn't have been in the team. And he was just man of the match the other day. So I think it's one of those things where, to me, all the signs point to long-term injury.
How does this impact on the team itself? In terms of the makeup of the team, how much of the batting depends on him?
I think more importantly, it's the tactical aspect. Not to say that Aaron's a bad captain or anything like that, but we've seen a lot of Mononk's captaincy in the recent weeks. When we've seen those 7 games with 4 against Canada, 3 against Bangladesh. And then, of course, the first 2 World Cup games here, and we've kind of gotten used to his T20 tactics. And yes, as Rohan mentioned, they hadn't played a T20 international. Actually, it was 18 months since they had played a T20 international before they played Canada, which is absolutely inexcusable. And this is one of the ways, as Brian says, we have to hold the board to account. We cannot continue to not play cricket and win and advance in World Cups.
Throwing in the preparation through the window, then you don't need to prepare. Come on, let's go and do it.
Just go do it. Yeah, it doesn't send a great message.
Don't need to listen to authorities here, though.
Doesn't send a great message, but I think we've gotten used to Mononk's tactics. He likes to use a lot of bowlers. He likes to match up bowlers. He likes to use a lot of bowlers in the power play. He often uses 5 bowlers in the power play. He loves keeping people on their toes. He likes to keep them uncomfortable, and that works very well in the associate world. Not letting oftentimes a team will, because you don't always have flat tracks in the associate world. So it's a good idea to maybe your first over against a bowler to kind of ease in against him. Well, he understands that teams are going to do that. And so he just says, well, now you're not going to see him again for 3 overs. I'll bowl him once and now you got another new guy to adapt to. So he's a pretty aggressive captain too. And I think that's going to be, what are we going to see from Aaron? Because last game we saw a 5-over penalty. And I think that I love Aaron. I think he's a great cricketer. I think he's obviously a great cricketer. You're not second in runs at this point in the tournament without being a great cricketer. But I am curious to see what the flavor of the captaincy we're going to have is. That's, to me, the biggest difference. Shea and Jahangir taking his place, Father Shea. I think that I've got a lot of faith in him. He's in 2023. Like we said, they didn't play any T20 international, but in ODI cricket, he and Gajanan Singh were our 2 best bats for the year in 2023. He was adapting to a brand new batting role too. He was batting number 6 for most of 2023. Now he's much more comfortable at the top of the order. So I think we can't judge him based on the fact he hasn't played a ton recently because they have a lot, he's been a depth player for them. And coming in against that ball, very first ball the other day, that is just bad luck. That was a great ball. That's unlucky for him, and it's incredible skill for Arshdeep. So I think we can't get down on Shea yet. I think we're going to see good things from him. He's a very confident cricketer, and I think that he'll come around.
Brian, I'm not going to allow you to wait on Rohan this time to hear what he says first. Call it for me. USA versus West Indies next weekend.
USA
And
win.
we have no offense at anything cricket. Let's talk, so you can sit on it.
USA wins the toss, chooses to bowl, makes early inroads. West Indies 158 for 6. USA goes into bat. USA wins by 2 wickets in the last over.
You have gone as far away from the offensive as I've seen. You put yourself out there.
Brian, I can't wait to see this game. I can't wait to watch this game.
I've seen it all now. I'm visualizing it. Yes, Rohan.
No, well, I'm going to go to West
You
Indies.
don't have
There's
to be that detailed.
right. I mean, the scores have been low throughout the tournament, but I think on these difficult wickets, a score of 175 is probably what West Indies is going to make thereabout. If they get a good start, it could make 200, but 175. And I think USA is going to struggle against West Indies spinners. The spinners are going to win the game for West Indies, right? Multi turned the ball so big. We're seeing coming in with his drifters,
Who's
right?
this?
And
Moti.
Moti with it spinning the ball so big, right?
Yeah.
Hussein with his drifters and Chase keeping it tight. I think those 3 guys are going to be the main reason for USA's batting not to make a good score.
Where are you now, Rohan? You're at home or you're still
Working from home, but I have,
Well, I'm glad you're working from home because given what you just said, you may not be able to make it home if you had to leave the office. So I'm glad you're safely at home. Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Is it my turn?
Yeah, your turn. But again, you don't have to be as dramatic as Mr. Walter.
Well, first of all, I want to know. So we win by 2 wickets, Brian. Who do we do it Sherfane Rutherford style? Who's going to play the Sherfane Rutherford role in this particular innings for USA?
Jesse Singh.
Jesse Singh's going to do the big scoring for this is very
minor.
I am rolling all the dice.
Brian, I can't just go one episode of any content I make without having to say something semi-negative about Jesse Singh now. It's like you're putting me on the spot. I've been no, I'm just kidding. I love Jesse Singh, but anyways, I don't think that's gonna happen, Brian. But I think it's gonna be closer than people think it is. I think it's gonna come down a lot to the toss, I think. And also, yeah, I am definitely worried about Akil Hussain. Maybe like for example, Wasim from Pakistan. He was injured. He had a side strain and he couldn't play for Pakistan in that game. And I thought, because I was very worried about him. And when he didn't play in the game, I was like, okay, great, he's not in there because he bowled so well on that wicket last year in Major League Cricket. So yes, the drifters of Akil Hussain. I've got flashbacks right now of the 2019, 2020, no, the 2020, 2021 CPL where Akil Hussain was just absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, he worries me. He definitely worries me. That's a trick. I think man, but I'm gonna back my team. I'm gonna say USA.
You don't have a choice. Rohan has somewhere to run and go.
Well, I would like to see.
Unless you have dual citizenship that we don't know about.
No. Back they do, but anyway.
I don't worry about you, Rohan. We know you have options. So I'm not worried about you. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. That's really good stuff. Filling us in on the situation in terms of cricket in USA, and I really hope to have you guys on again very soon. Hopefully before the World Cup is over, but certainly as we get towards the Major League Cricket. So look forward to that. Brian, Nate, and of course Rohan, who we are accustomed to. Thanks for joining us on Straight Drive, our production of Anything Cricket. Let's talk.